best concerts I've been to have been those open arenas, you know. And even if I don't think I know their music until they start singing them, I'm like,
then
oh
you
yeah,
know.
oh yeah.
Right.
Because I went to Rick Springsteen one time.
Oh,
and,
okay.
LL Cool J is one of my favorites, and the security guards are like, get off those chairs now. And I'm like, okay. And then I jump back up again.
Talk about feeling old. I went to Elvis, Tom Jones, Ray Charles, all of those instead of LL, you know.
LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now I feel ancient.
Oh,
But
I would go to
Doobie Brothers.
Elvis. I would go to Elvis.
Oh my God, it was one of the highlights of my life. I will never forget it.
How many people can say they went to Elvis?
That's
really?
right. He was was at a little bit later in his life, and he was heavy, and you know, he wasn't quite as good looking as he once been because he was heavy.
The Jolly Elvis.
The Jolly Elvis, yeah. But I don't care. It was Elvis. He's the king. I will never forget it. It was awesome. And I was young, you know, but I still remember that experience. I was 2. No.
Yeah.
Like it happened
it?
yesterday. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Okay.
Awesome.
And yeah, I know what you're wanting me to say. I'm not sure I want to say it. Share that story. Do you really want me to share that story? I don't know if we can do that on the air.
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah,
but.
maybe we should pass that, or you tell it, okay? But, so what else happened this weekend? What do you think what's going on in the world today?
I don't know. I mean, it was cold. I mean, I feel like maybe Pell might have froze over as cold as it was. In Arizona, it was cold. I don't think and I've lived in Arizona all my life, so I don't know if I've ever in my life experienced how cold it was last week.
Well, and even down in Phoenix, we had to walk quite a ways, probably a mile, because the parking was so crowded and far away to get to this concert. And I mean, these little short legs were moving,
yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
By the time I got there, my nose really did look like this, okay? And we were so cold. But inside the tent, they had those heaters going.
Yeah.
And just the body heat.
Yeah.
You know, people around you and moving. So my feet were the only things that never really did warm up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It was extremely cold.
It was extremely cold.
Okay.
So
for Prescott, it was real cold. But
for Prescott,
Phoenix
it was cold,
to be cold like that, you know,
was.
it's
so
an unusual.
It makes you wonder if we're really having global warming issues.
I think we are. I think there is something to it if you look at the weather patterns, although I've talked to other people that said, oh, go through history.
Yeah,
go through
that's
history.
the kind of response I get from talking to people about it. And they
Yeah.
said, it's a history thing. It cycles, and, you know, we go through it, and
right.
And, you know, if you go back, there's sort of a pattern.
Sort of a pattern.
So could that create a phobia? Do you
weather
think with
phobia?
some
Actually,
people?
it was a phobia. It was one of the phobias. I didn't bring what it's called, I don't think, but weather-related phobias are very common.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, when we look at all this stuff, it's like here, natural environment phobias, okay? I mean, that can be anything.
Right.
But here's what it is. The natural environment phobia is a fear of thunder, darkness, water, like even rainwater, for crying out loud, okay? Situation phobias that are triggered by specific situations, flying, dentists, we talked about that, tunnels, bridges.
Okay.
Now, I have a thing about bridges, too. I love bridges to look at, and I like to photograph them. I'm kind of a frustrated photographer anyway, but I like bridges, the structure of them. But driving across is a different story.
We always have a little game when we go either through tunnels or over bridges. We will all hold our breath going over and see who can last the longest. And I'm driving going, oh,
I'd be jumping out the car.
Yeah.
It'd be no problem here, huh? And you know what's strange, because I have an incredible, horrible fear of heights. Sometimes I even have a hard time driving on I-17 just down to Phoenix. Those little parts with the little curves. One time going to Flagstaff, there's a certain section on I-17 where there are drop-off. You know, there's a drop-off on the sides and then these curves. I actually thought about pulling over. I didn't think I could make it and calling 911.
You're kidding.
Nope, it was real anxiety, okay?
Wow.
Yeah, so I can understand some of these phobias. What I started to tell you, though, the horrible fear I have of heights, but flying doesn't bother me. Well, not flying, flapping my own wings, but flying in the airplane, you know. I can fly, not a problem. And I always wanted to try skydiving, although, you know, that's kind of a fleeting thought at this stage. But I used to want to do that, and yet I have this horrible fear of heights. Doesn't make sense, does it?
Not really.
Well, it's Gertie for you. It's what I'm talking about. Nothing I do makes any real sense.
About.
But fear of weather, yeah, it's a real thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you're not unusual in that. Did you say you had a fear of weather,
No,
or you were just?
I'm just saying global warming.
Oh yeah,
But it's freezing.
Right. That's right. Okay.
So I don't know how the two go together, and how fears can be caused by promoting things that maybe not are real accurate.
Well, and like I say, I think the global warming thing is accurate. However, history has shown us that we have gone through periods where there were tremendous upheavals and changes in our weather patterns.
Right.
So, you know, it's hard to tell.
Well, yeah, it's evolving.
Yeah, it's
an evolving
It's
world,
both.
and you know the weather comes around in cycles, and
here we are.
And here
evolving
we
our
are.
little own self. We have our own little show here. We talk about anything that comes up and doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But we enjoy
But
our
we're
conversation.
entertaining, yeah.
Yeah, that's the main thing. So what else went on?
Not much this weekend. It's just trying to get through the cold weather and got my taxes done.
Oh, my
Yay. So
God.
my phobia of numbers are done.
My God.
I don't have to deal with them.
How
And
lucky.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
good year.
Well, I ran around trying to find a day bed. Do you remember day
Yes,
beds? Do you know what day
yes.
beds are?
No, are they the ones with the trundles that you
Well,
pull
it's not
out?
a trundle bed.
But it's like the ones that you can
yeah,
put up.
they have like a frame, usually a little wrought iron, little frame around them, and they're darling. And I wanted to I didn't want a hide-a-bed because I didn't want to, like, every time I had, you know, somebody over, pull it all out and all of that kind of stuff with company. I wanted something in the spare room that was made up all the time, and yet I didn't want it to look like a bed. Okay, a little bit more.
You can kind of dress it up with pillows and
I
stuff.
went to 6 used furniture places, okay, trying to find a day bed.
Yeah.
There are none. It's like almost a thing of the past.
Yeah, I don't see
Okay.
those advertised
Well,
much.
one
now,
guy-
now the futons.
And I didn't want a futon.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted a day bed.
Okay.
That was my mission. So I
Okay.
went on this mission this weekend, running around looking for them. I found one in an antique store, one of our antique malls here in Prescott.
We've got plenty, so it's great that you're able
We're lucky.
to. Yeah,
we're
are.
lucky. We have just about anything you want right here in this little old town. But I did find one in this antique mall. Bought it immediately, okay? And the gal told me, now the frame's a little rickety, and I looked at it and I pulled out one little part of the frame, and I thought, well, that's no big deal. I saw a couple of bolts. I thought, oh, I can handle that, okay? So I bought it. The guy delivered it that afternoon. I was thrilled, and he said, by the way, you do know that this whole frame is not attached to anything, it's just hanging there. I said, no, I didn't know that. I knew that one end was a little bit loose. He said, no, all of it, all 3 sides, the back part, the side parts. So he tied it all on with just, you know, like string, tied it on, and that was my big buy. I finally found a day bed, and the frame had to be tied on with string. It wasn't on there. I'm not good about checking things out. I'm impulsive.
Okay.
How about
so
you?
Can you?
I'm keeping it.
But can you put screws on it?
Well, now, how do you mean that? Just how do you mean? What are you trying to say here, huh?
Can you put screws on that
Well, I
day bed?
suppose depends on who's coming to visit. No. You know what? Right now,
You're going to be tying it up with string.
it's tied up with string.
I could go in a different direction too.
Well, yeah, let's just take it in the family direction, okay? Might be a family show. But no, the frame's just tied on, and I'm leaving it. Hey, I worked too hard even trying to find a day bed. to mess with it, or the thought of returning it didn't even occur to me. Okay, it's just a nice little frame that's tied on with string.
String.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That was my mission for the weekend.
Well, it sounds like it kept you busy.
It did. I mean, to run around. And I saw a lot of neat things. And I'm telling you, anybody who likes antiquing, I like thrifting. I like secondhand stores and thrifting.
I'm not a big shopper, so that doesn't thrill me.
Doesn't thrill you. And I'm not big on, I love antiques, but I don't want my house full of antiques.
Yeah.
Okay.
Full of dusting and
I'm very
fun like that.
I'm very eclectic.
Phobias like that.
Phobias like that.
Phobias of dusting, yeah.
Well, hey, listen, there's some truth to that, because who knows who owned that, whatever it is you're buying in the past, who knows the history of a particular item, where it's been, you know, who's owned it, and what energy is connected with it.
Now, could that be a phobia or a superstition?
Well, it could be all of the above, or it could be the real McCoy.
Right,
okay,
right.
That
so.
You need to check it out, kind of feel it. I had a friend who bought a player, an old antique player piano. The minute he brought it into his house, weird stuff started happening in the house, okay?
Oh.
But he didn't associate it with that player piano until way down the road. He had shamans.
Maybe we should go further into that conversation in our next show.
Well, I'll just tell you a little bit about it, though, because he had shamans come out and bless his house and cleanse the area and cleanse the ground, and you know, all kinds of people doing things to rid. Well, let me tell you, he got up every morning, and every picture mirror in his house was hanging upside down.
Ooh.
He would turn it right side up, get up the next morning, everything was upside down.
That would.
Well, it was spooky, yeah. And other weird things were happening. That's just a small little part of it, but all the cleansings didn't do it. When
Interesting.
Somewhere along the line, he realized that all of this started happening when he brought home that player piano. Okay.
Wow. How old was it?
Oh, well, you
Was
know,
it-
probably 1800 something.
Okay.
Maybe even older. I have no idea. But when he got rid of that player piano, everything calmed down.
Wow.
So there definitely was something
Something to
connected
do with that.
with
That'd
it.
be an interesting show to figure out.
Well, let's talk
Talk
about
about
it.
it.
Huh?
That's
Get
what I'm
rid of those
talking
terms.
about.
No handshakes, huh? Now,
Well, thank you for joining us today, and hopefully we're entertaining you. And
well, I know we're entertaining
ourselves,
ourselves,
so really.
just keep talking and keep on watching.